Hello everyone, Adam here again from FourFourTwo. Now, I hope you all had a lovely Christmas. I feel pregnant. Yes, I have ate too much food, but despite my lack of mobility, there was one player last night who did not showcase such immobility as me, and his name was Phil Foden, because he was absolutely everywhere, all over the pitch. Probably the best game he's played in about 2 years, in my opinion. So we're going to talk about it. Now, of course, Phil Foden has been playing in the middle more this season. We know this, and I've touched on it in other videos, mainly just because of absences in the team and, of course, De Bruyne's injury as well. But I'm going to highlight some stats from last season in the Premier League and this season in the Premier League, just to highlight kind of how he's been playing differently in this City system this season. Now, you can see here his goals per 90 are down, but also his passes attempted too. However, his forward passes is up, meaning that he's actually kind of assuming this Kevin De Bruyne role more in the team, where he's being dispossessed more, playing forward-thinking passes, but it's also creating more chances. And you can see here he's attempting 0.7 through balls per 90 as opposed to 0.2 last season, which is a massive, massive upturn in terms of just general chance creation in this City side. And he is also losing possession less as well, which is a good indicator that he's actually just refining his passing game in general. But a lot more through balls attempted and forward passes as well per 90. So why are so many City fans going crazy about Phil Foden's performance against Everton last night in particular? Well, to start off, he's actually played in midfield in the last 3 Premier League games consecutively, and the reason for this is, of course, Erling Haaland's injury, which has forced Julian Alvarez into his old sort of number 9 position, and then Phil Foden's had this sort of more, well, he's took Alvarez's position effectively in this sort of 10 second striker kind of free role that lets him drift over to the left, the right, wherever he may need to be, and to, I don't want to say wreak havoc, but just pull strings and really showcase his quality with freedom on the turn, beating players, and getting shots off from range as well, which we'll talk about. But of course the problem is whether Phil Foden can maintain this position, and I'm not sure he can per se in that 10 position, because of course when De Bruyne got injured at the start of the season, Pep Guardiola decided to replace him with Julian Alvarez in that sort of 10 role, because you remember last season in that treble run-in, De Bruyne was particularly playing almost as a second striker along Erling Haaland, particularly against Arsenal at home at the Etihad. He really sort of played this second striker role, which Alvarez has now assumed, and Phil Foden's not really had a chance to fill that void himself, but he has, of course, now Erling Haaland is injured. But you'd assume with the pecking order when De Bruyne comes back that Phil will naturally go back down it despite how well he's playing. And I think it's kind of unlikely that we're actually going to see Foden and De Bruyne as the double 8 pairing, because we know that Pep Guardiola likes to have one of his 8s at all times defensively contributing in the team. Last season, of course, it was Ilkay Gundogan who was doing it consistently, and this season it's had to be either Alvarez, who's actually very, very good off the ball, or Bernardo Silva stepping into that 8 role, because, I mean, that man is just a Swiss Army knife. He can do everything. But with De Bruyne and Foden, who are both very attack-minded midfielders in those 8 positions, I think it's unlikely that Pep will pair them together, but time will tell. But I think moving forward, I don't think we'll see those 2 play together when De Bruyne is in the team. Now, Phil Foden has actually come out and said long may it continue in terms of him playing in the middle of the park, so clearly he feels like this is his best position, and I think an awful lot of City fans and maybe England fans do as well. So what may the route be for Phil Foden into the middle of the pitch? Well, luckily for him, not luckily for City fans, but John Stones actually got injured yesterday, which could see a tactical shift that could suit Phil now moving forward. Now, of course, we know that John Stones likes to go into that pivot role, but with him injured now, what that is going to do is really kind of take Kyle Walker out of this initial build-up. With Stones out the team and Akanji then having to drift forward into that 6, we've seen Walker push on a lot more of almost in a kind of wing-back position, which means if Phil Foden starts on the right-hand side and Walker pushes up, then Phil will naturally have licence to then drift into the middle of the park and pull strings the way he did last night. That could be his way into the team. It's a could. We will, again, time will tell now Stones is out. So, what is Phil Foden so good at in the middle, you ask? Well, simply put, driving. I know not in that way. Of course, he did pass his test very recently. Congratulations, Phil. A little side note, I passed my test when I was 19, and on the same day I passed my test, I ran over a cyclist. It wasn't a hit and run. I just didn't indicate. I was, why have I said this? I took my mum to Tesco and did a left turn, and some fella went over the front of my car. Anyway, listen, he's a better driver than me, Phil Foden, but that's not the driving that I meant. driving with the ball, which he's also better than me at, surprisingly. I'm 6'3", I can't turn like he can. I'm heavy, man, especially after this Christmas. But Phil absolutely exemplified this last night, because when he got that ball in the middle of the park yesterday, he was not afraid to just do it by himself effectively. Before I showcase the goal, of course, for the penalty that City won, he arrived at the right moment on the edge of the box. So he was really hugging the D of the penalty area, both from set pieces and in play. We also saw it towards the end of the game, which would have been the goal of the game had it gone in. That sort of quick turn of pace, touching it out of his feet and getting that shot off onto the post. And then we also saw it towards the end of the game as well, where Phil picked it up in his own half and just skipped past 2, 3, 4 Everton players and drove with the ball 30, 40 yards before striking one from range. I think he realised that striking it from range, Pickford can't quite get to his crossbar, so he kept trying to hit them over Pickford, and it did work once. Well, he hit it under him. But again, without the carries and the driving from the middle of the park, he's also actually a great ball striker, which without De Bruyne in the team, City sometimes do miss. And listen, for all these tactical breakdowns that we do like to do on this channel, particularly Adam, sometimes you just need to say,
have it. Oh, yes.
Yeah, just have it. Just strike one. Sometimes that is the best way to beat a deep block, and you need specialists who can do this. I think City have Rodri, who has scored a fair few from range. Of course, De Bruyne. Don't need to talk about that. But Phil Foden as well can hit the ball from range, and he did it yesterday. And it was a goal that actually really paralleled a goal he scored away at Dortmund 3 seasons ago, actually, which was hitting the same near post and beat the keeper and sort of blindsided him. He's really got that finish in his locker, that near post sort of pile driver. He does it once or twice a season, and it bailed City out yesterday. And of course, as well, this does beg the question, where will Phil Foden play for England in the Euros? Will he play? Because the squad is that stacked. And despite the fact that my last video was all about how Curtis Jones should be in the England team, which I think he should, or at least in the squad, can you make a case for Phil Foden playing in the middle? You're going to have to let me know about that in the comments. Because, of course, we have Bellingham, who can play at the tip of that diamond and is obviously arguably the best player in the world right now, so I'm not going to debate him being in the team. Of course, Declan Rice as well is a shoo-in, but then you've got Trent Alexander-Arnold in that midfield, and it's whether you can strike the right balance. But Phil Foden in the middle can pull strings so well, has so much to his game, particularly on the turn with his back to goal, but also, like I've just showcased, those long shots as well, which many players maybe don't have in the middle of the park. Would it be worth putting Phil Foden in the middle of the park and then perhaps a Rashford, okay, he's off the boil, a Rashford or a Grealish on that left-hand side instead of Phil, and then, of course, Saka and Kane with him? You let me know what you think about that. Should Phil Foden be in the middle for England? Gareth, please. And with that said, of course, guys, do not forget to subscribe. We're in that kind of weird lull period at the end of the year now where, like, everyone's just sort of existing. So, yeah. Little video on Phil Foden. There'll be another one coming your way tomorrow from Mr. Cleary. But like I said, do not forget to subscribe. Continue to have a lovely Christmas, a fantastic New Year. I've been Adam Monk. Hope you have a good one. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.